Welcome to the New to Wrestling podcast, where I, your host, Xavier Cruz, a lifelong wrestling fan, will take a lifelong friend through the action, the joys, and the drama of the world of professional wrestling. My co-host, Kelsey Silva, has been bitten by the wrestling bug, and I want to invite you to join us as I take her through the moments that made me a fan. So if you're new to wrestling and would like to get brought up to speed, or a fan who would like to relive some classic matches, promos, and segments through fresh eyes, join us as we embark on a journey through the Attitude Era and beyond. Welcome to the New to Wrestling podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the New to Wrestling podcast. This week, we watched the September 6, 1996 edition of Monday Night Raw, and the match card is as follows. We had Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Psycho Sid. We had Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mark Miro with Sable. We also had Mankind with Paul Bearer versus the Pug.
I'm sorry.
I know, and we'll get there. And then in the main event, we had a WWF Championship match between Shawn Michaels and Goldust. All right, we're back. It's been a couple weeks as far as us recording goes. We've obviously seen each other because we're friends. How are you?
I'm good. I lost my voice completely, which you know, because we were together when it happened, but I'm slowly getting it back, and we're here. We're committed to wrestling, so we're going through with it. Okay, girl. She's got her tea. We're doing the best we can.
Absolutely. So we apologize if we get some squeaks and squeals out of this one.
And they're on the house this time. Normally you gotta pay for that.
100%. She's booked and busy, guys. All right, so the show starts. It opens with a promo for the main event tonight between Shawn Michaels and Goldust. They dragged the movie theater guy out of obscurity, had him say his piece.
Well, I guess he wasn't obscure then because it was the 90s.
True, you're right. He was everywhere. Now that I'm thinking, he's probably
so he was
like
relevant.
Oh, 100%. He's probably a pretty penny to get then.
Oh yeah, he was probably a big act. They were like, and it was like the cold open. They were like, we are holding no stops. We are just going for it. They got the main 90s movie trailer guy to do it.
Yeah, it was pretty like dramatic. It was very black and white. Lots and lots of adjectives to describe Shawn Michaels. I felt the movie theater guy may have had a little crush, if I do say so myself.
I would agree with that. And then they did like the same amount of adjectives, but like the exact opposite for Goldust. So it was like heinous, awful, worst person ever, disgusting. And I was like, guys, stop talking about me. Like
100%. Like I have a name. Like God, I don't understand. Like what's the disconnect? All right, so we get into our first match. After we get through that intro, Hunter Hearst Helmsley is already in the ring. Didn't bother with an introduction.
Nope.
And he is accompanied by Kimberly. No surname. Doesn't need one.
Just Kimberly.
We know nothing about her other than she is holding space next to Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Yep. And he is facing Psycho Sid, who, of course, is a gigantic man. This match is a part of the Intercontinental Championship tournament that we started last week because Ahmed Johnson has been injured. His title was relinquished, so now we're trying to figure out who's next. This match is just basically Triple H running into a brick wall repeatedly over and over again.
It's so true. It was quick.
Oh yeah. Triple H was really he couldn't even get out of the blocks. Like there was like a stutter start. The gates never opened. This man had nothing to throw at Psycho Sid.
Yeah.
We get although he did have one moment where he must have had some kind of offense because he had enough like gumption to like bow curtsy. And we were like, did he just? And yes, he had.
Yeah, and he like really committed because there was a lot of like sweeping of the arm. Like he really thought he was like hot shit for a second there.
He really fully thinks he's hot shit all of the time.
Okay.
So he gets like just slam dunked like through the ring with a choke slam and then power bombed quickly defeated, and Mr. Perfect, as the end of this match is progressing, saunters on down the ring, doesn't say a word, just with his little like ponytail, goes over to Kimberly, whispers some like I guess sweet nothings in her ear, and then collects her, and they go off into like the backstage area. And apparently this is something that has been a repeated, like now this is like a habit or a pattern, and we have questions.
It was so funny because they talked about it like that this has been happening almost like it was like a predator warning. They were like, Mr. Perfect's been coming ringside and taking everybody's women. We don't know what's going on. And I was like, what is going on? And like,
hide your kids, hide your wife.
Hide them all because he's coming, and we don't know what he says, but they go.
Yeah.
Just go.
What do you think is the one line? What would that man have to say to you to get you to get up and leave with him?
I'm like, for me, I would be like, the Undertaker is backstage. If you want to come, I can take you there. Oh, okay, I'm coming.
Mine's like, there's a trail of crunch wraps. Follow me.
Crunchwrap Supremes right this way. Come on. I know he didn't feed you. I know what his budget looks like. Come on.
So no one knows what Mr. Perfect is doing with all of these women. I'm assuming it is just to infuriate Hunter Hearst Helmsley. So something there is a brewing, but we'll see. Immediately following that, we get a injury update on Ahmed Johnson. For those of you who don't know or catching, if this is your first episode, Ahmed Johnson was injured by the debuting Farouk, in which his kidney was ruptured. And then he proceeded to wrestle the following week and injured it further, which has now knocked him out of commission for the foreseeable future. However, it was a pretty good update. It seemed generally pretty positive. He's either delusional in thinking he's returning, or he's just so determined that he's gonna make it happen one way or another.
Right. And they brought the doctor too, and it was so funny because the doctor had a diagram of a kidney, like a 3D model of a kidney, and he was literally holding it like this,
yes.
He could come back if he really wanted to. I'm telling you, it's a distinct possibility. And I was like,
100%.
They mean business. They brought the doctor with the kidney diagram. They are not playing.
I want to know what restaurant they plucked that guy from, and they were like, you sir, you're gonna play our doctor, right? Because it's just the way that he was handling the kidney. It was just so it was like a Shakespeare piece. He was just a whole it was the skull.
It was Yorick. I knew him well.
Right, exactly. You're just
okay.
No. I want to see your degrees, sir.
Yeah, let me see your certifications.
Present them immediately.
I am confused. I have questions. But I'm excited it's coming back potentially. I'm so happy about that.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't know how long a kidney injury takes, but I mean, if they're
definitely more than a week, we've learned. But
well, definitely. Ahmed learned the hard way. Yeah. So then, following that match, we had Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mark Miro with Sable. My favorite thing I think that you said during that entire time was, "Oh look, it's Sable. I mean Mark Miro." Because
I can't help myself.
We are Team Sable. There's no way, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But this match is another one of the Intercontinental Championship tournament. We did have commentary brought to us by the unique and sultry sounding Brian Pillman. This man just sounds like his vocal cords are actual cheese graters. It's rough.
Gargled nails for breakfast.
100%. I did want to take a moment to shout out Sable's jumpsuit. I think it would have been remiss of us not to.
It would have done a great disservice to all humankind if you hadn't done that. So I thank you for your service.
100%.
Brian Pillman was kind of I once again, it's really hard to pick out what
Just what, period.
yeah,
It's really hard to pick
it's
out
really
what.
hard to find like what's meat, what's gristle. I don't really I don't really understand why why everything he says comes out in such a like jumble.
So
But
confusing.
he makes word stew that no one wants. And like but I
Oh
think the
my god.
gist I think the gist of it is that he has a close association with the Hart family and
Hmm.
thus will be interviewing Bret Hart at a later date. So they didn't announce Bret Hart's return, they announced the future announcement.
Yeah. It was
Right.
like, here's an announcement about an announcement I might make in the future. It was like,
100%. And all
okay.
the while Brian Pillman's talking about his announcement, JR is also advertising a completely separate announcement that he keeps bringing up, but doesn't actually say what it is. So we're just like forced to just be like, okay, I guess I'll wait around. Um,
Yeah, it was confusing because I was like, wait. So whose announcement is it? And then I realized it was two separate things, and I was like, someone, we need a synonym for announcement, or like we need
100.
to
Oh,
we need
we
to
could have.
face this out differently.
Yeah, there was no reason why like all of a sudden during this one match, which by the way, there was so much like chitter chatter going on about like all of these like separate entities that no one like could actually like say anything about. I was so distracted by that. I like didn't watch like a majority of the match. Like
Yeah.
I was just like, whose announcements do I am I supposed to care about? I'm lost.
Yeah, I was so
But
confused, and then at one point I looked over and they were like Stone Cold and Mark Mir were like holding hands. And I was like, wait, I was
what's
like, what's
going on?
happening? I was like,
Um
I
yeah, so but we did find out that the winner of this match is going to face Owen Hart, who won his first match in the Intercontinental tournament against the British Bulldog. So that is he is going to face the victor. Apparently, it also in the word jumble of Brian Pillman, Owen and Bret Hart have reconciled. Owen Hart has been like a bad guy pretty much this whole time, but I think it might be that Bret Hart might be returning as a bad guy, not that Owen Hart is
oh,
suddenly a good guy, because we
heard.
haven't heard
Okay.
anything like to the contrary. Oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin's attire. So we
Yes.
like to kind of go on and on about the glitz and glamour of
If
most
you guys
people's.
didn't notice, we love to talk about the wardrobe.
And Kelsey mentioned during the match that she appreciated that like he just comes out in like black trunks and black boots, and
Yep.
that's it. So there's kind of a like reasoning behind that, in that uh Steve Austin used to work for WCW. I've mentioned them before. They are at this time the WWE's biggest rival. Currently, they are the other company is doing so well, in fact, that they have surpassed WWE at this point in time as being like the number one wrestling show like on television.
Wow.
Yeah. And we will at a later time jump into the beast that is WCW and Nitro and the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah,
And
I would love to because I have so many questions
yeah,
about
there's a
that.
lot. So and it's gonna come up a lot during this time because we're literally in the thick of it. But Steve Austin used to work for WCW. He was fired by the CEO or whoever, Eric Bischoff at the time. And basically, in an interview, I think Eric Bischoff was quoted as saying like, "Oh, like Steve Austin comes to the ring with like his like black boots and black tights, and no one's going to be interested in like you, like you're never going to be like a star, like you just don't have anything that's like special about you, essentially, because that was the gist." And so during this
Dang.
time, while this was happening, Stone Cold Steve Austin was injured. So he gets injured and then fired by the WCW. And then he goes to another wrestling organization for a little bit, ECW, which is based out of Philadelphia. This is all happening at the same time. And
This is crazy.
I know, where he gets kind of known for like his promos and his mouth, because he was very, very angry about being injured and then promptly let go, that
I mean, I would be.
he had a lot to say about it, and it translated into what he would say like on the mic. So basically, as like a kind of royal like F you to Eric Bischoff, he's like, okay, if you say I'm never gonna make any, like, I'm not gonna be like a star doing whatever I do, I'm just gonna do that and prove you wrong. And that is kind of what he's on his road to doing.
God, I love to see it. Wow, I love to see it.
So
because like we know he does. Like
we know he does.
Because even I know he does, and I haven't even seen it.
He becomes so large that like eventually like the WWE like takes over WCW as far as like ratings goes, and he has like merchandise sales that like nobody can touch. Like there were years where Stone Cold Steve Austin was bringing in like millions of dollars in just merchandise sales. That's not
just merchandise.
In just merchandise, because his face, his likeness, his slogans were all over it. And people and wrestling at this time, because there were two huge organizations both doing really well as far as ratings like go, as far as like how many people were like watching, not necessarily like who was winning. But because so many eyes were on wrestling, it was like the highest as far as like the ability to make money off of merchandise, because there was competition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I love that story.
Yeah.
I love a petty beginning. I love a villain origin story.
100%.
And then he wins. I love that.
Back to the match. We get into like a little scuffle in like kind of like the rope. Stone Cold Steve Austin grabs the referee, drags him in front of Mark Miro, who is like diving into the ring, thus knocking the referee out, and the referee immediately calls for the bell. He goes, nope, and he disqualifies Steve Austin. Steve Austin is none too pleased with the decision and starts attacking Mark Miro, to the point where all of like these referees and security people have to come and separate them.
It was wild.
The
ref just got completely yeeted.
He literally just like used the ref as a human shield, which was truly impressive. We have a interview from the World's Strongest Man, Mark Henry, by Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry the King Lawler, without missing a beat, Jake the Snake's name comes out of his mouth.
I swear every time it's like a curse. I can't.
Obsessed. He can't let it go.
I think they're secretly in love. Like I really believe that he's secretly in love. No, I'm telling you.
I feel like it's one-sided though.
Oh yeah, I think Jake the Snake is like,
it's like it's like a pining out the window, like Hillary Duff, like let the rain fall down, like kind of love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Jerry the King Lawler is not pleased with Mark Henry due to his interference in stopping Jerry from pouring more alcohol down Jake's throat, even though he is a recovering alcoholic.
Like a mess.
Yeah. And then so Mark Henry, the first things out of his mouth are, I don't like you very much. I mean, you know what? For someone like who's known as like the world's strongest man, he is such a like eloquent speaker. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you'd think like he just like spend his days in the gym, but like he is like,
he was like, I don't like you very much.
Like, fully.
Was that a dove on the wing?
He's
what
like
was that?
That is the most like eloquent wrestler I've ever heard. Like to this point, because most of them are just shouting into the microphone,
screaming,
and like pacing, and like a touch of the vapors. I don't know what like there's it's always like the most. And so it's a little like I was a little like surprised by his like reservedness. Jerry the King Lawler then decides to challenge him to a match, knowing that Mark Henry has not been like fully trained as a wrestler, or at least that's the story. Mark Henry does offer to fight, which
right then and there,
and the best line I've ever heard: nothing but opportunity and air between us.
Wow. I'm gonna use that.
Absolutely. I don't know when I'm gonna like come to fisticuffs, but it might.
But
And
you could use it like any other way. Like if like, look, there's nothing but air and opportunity between us.
oh, I like that. I like that one better.
It's a thin line between love and hate, you know.
So Mark Henry then tells him, yes. Mark Henry then tells
Again,
him that
Jerry and Jake the Snake, thin line between love and hate.
right. And Jerry is tap dancing upon that line.
True.
But Jerry calls Mark Henry a coward because he won't accept his like challenge to like a wrestling match. I think he just called him like a coward. He just starts like
he also
shit talking him.
Yeah, I love the casual use of the word yellow at this time. Like, you're yellow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, bring back yellow. That one's
but Mark Henry angrily accepts.
Love it.
He gets all up in Jerry's face, gives him like the stiff arm, and makes his way kind of out of the ring. Yeah. So I'm very excited to see that.
I'm so excited to see it. I also want to quickly mention that JR actually had a quote. It made no sense, but it was extremely memorable when he was talking about Jerry the King Lawler. He was like, he said, Jerry doesn't respect anyone except maybe Elvis Presley's memory. And I was like, what?
I was like, that's very specific.
It's very, very specific. I enjoyed it though. I don't know.
I wasn't mad about it, but like,
oh no,
there's a lot of JR-isms. There's a lot of like JR like gold little like quotes that'll come out because he's like known for being the voice of the WWE, but you don't land them all, and we're gonna watch a lot of wrestling, so like we're gonna come across some duds. It's the following match was Mankind with Paul Bearer, and you
I can't even stand the sight of him.
Paul Bearer was just irate.
I am so mad still. I can't even stand the sight of him, and the fact that he is so smug makes me more mad.
100%. And Mankind was facing the Pug.
Sorry.
It took us a second to figure out that was his name first.
Because it was on his uniform, and I was like, that cannot say the Pug. There's no way that says the Pug.
Right. And also he was wearing like an amateur wrestling like singlet, but one that was like real low.
Yeah.
And we were like, did you get that from somewhere you probably shouldn't have gotten that?
We'd like to know.
Yeah. Inquiring minds. It was a brief one. This one, I can't. The Pug. I don't know. He was never going to have a chance.
And I was like, I don't understand. Like, does he like pugs? Is it an acronym? Is it like he is
the Pug? I'm telling you. And if you looked at his face, that makes sense. like I can't imagine we're gonna see this man again.
Okay. It's just
No, that was very much that was a one and done. I feel like
he wasn't bad. He was actually a good seller, I thought. Like he was really like
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that they gave him this gimmick of the Pug, or he came to them with this, which would be even sadder.
I know, I actually don't know which is worse.
Well, I don't know, because then somebody has to he has to come to them and they have to approve it. I'm kind of used to bad ideas coming from the top down, but like when it comes from the bottom up, it's like it feels like it's worse because it has to go through levels.
Right, that like people sat in and they were like, okay, yeah, right. I could see it.
Right.
Like I needed the one person who didn't. I know there was one person in there who was like, I don't think so, but decided not to say anything. And I
know, and they should be shot.
They should. Oh my God, they should at least answer for something, because they should have said.
Oh, but during this match, we finally get JR's announcement, and it is that Big Daddy Cool Diesel and Razor Ramon will be making their return. Now,
yeah, I was like, I know that should mean something, but I don't know what it means.
Big Daddy Cool Diesel, aka
what a name,
is Kevin Nash. That is his given name.
Okay.
Razor Ramon is Scott Hall. They both defected from the WWE to the WCW in 1996. So we haven't seen them because they literally right before we started this show, they had left.
That's drama.
So they moved to this other company, and the entire inception of them going to that company is that it was made to look like the WWE was invading that company, because they didn't really like, there wasn't like some grand announcement that they were coming. They would come in through like the fans. They would come in like to the announcing like booth and just start like taking over like it was a whole thing. So they were made to look, they called themselves like the outsiders. They were made to look like they were like spies from the WWE going over there. However, in real life, their contract ended in WWE. They asked for more money. Vince was like, I can't do it. They got more money at WCW because that was backed by Ted Turner and Ted Turner Broadcasting. So the characters, however, are owned by the WWE. So we are going to see a return of the characters, Big Daddy Cool Diesel and Razor Ramon,
but not the actual wrestlers.
But not the actual two wrestlers. They are still working for the other company.
Wait, that's insane.
So we're gonna, and let me just preface this by saying we're getting the dollar store version of because
I knew you were gonna say that. I was like already shocked before you said it.
Just the characters are so intertwined with who those two people are, like their personalities, that you can't just stick somebody else in that role and expect it to work. It just, the fans already have a connection with this other person. So I'll let you witness here's what we're gonna do. On the following episode, when they actually debut, I will edit so that you can see a side-by-side of the wrestlers and the new Big Daddy Cool Diesel and the old one, so that you and the fans can see exactly kind of what I'm talking about.
So like, that'd be like, again, if any of them, like, you can't like replace Goldust, you can't replace the Undertaker, like that just wouldn't make any, this doesn't make any sense to me.
100%.
That's wild.
Yeah, so that's that on that, so stay tuned. 100%. And so that little squasher was followed by the return of Bob Backlund. If you recall, a couple weeks ago was on commentary, ranting and raving. Yeah, so once again we heard the ramblings of a lunatic. Essentially the gist of it magazine says that the Iron Sheik is returning, and they are both going to be working with a debuting wrestler, or at least that's the gist of what I got. They did give them the Oscar treatment when the speech goes on a little too long, and they started playing music over them and then cut to commercial. So I don't have the full story, but with the two that were involved as far as microphone skills, I don't think we were going to get the full story anyway. So we're just going to have to wait and see who this wrestler is, and hopefully I'll be able to shed a little bit more light once I have an idea of what's going on. Because every time that man enters the ring or holds a microphone, I'm concerned for all.
A mess. And then who's the other announcer? Because they came in so quick with such a jab that Xavier and I literally lost it.
Oh. What did he say?
So Bob Backlund, that's his name, right?
Backlund.
That's worse. Okay, so Bob Backlund said something, and he like looked in the camera and was like, look that up. And the announcer, who was not JR, was like, what about unstable? Can you look that up?
Oh, it was brutal. It cut to the core.
And it was so quick. Like, he said it immediately. Like, he was sitting on that.
He was also as annoyed by having to like sit through this man's like ramblings as we were.
Oh, it was so good.
He's like, how about unstable? Could you try that one?
Yeah,
maybe?
look that up, because you're gonna find a lot of synonymous terms that work with your behavior, and you're gonna realize some things about yourself.
We get to the main event, which is a world title match between HBK Shawn Michaels and Goldust with Marlena. Let's just start there. Wow. She came out in a little gold mini. It had cutouts. Her cigar was tootin' today. It had influence in the match. She had power. She looked good.
She looked so good. I was like, I can't even be mad at her. She looks so good. I'm so It was speechless. I was
Overwhelming.
speechless.
And you know it's
Amazing.
good. And I mentioned this like while we were watching because they do like a pan out. So they'll start on Marlena, pan out to the match. And when I tell you that cut is not, it is like almost every time that she is ringside, you're gonna get one of these.
Thank God.
And you're like, wait, are we not paying attention to the match? No.
Because that's
Marlena.
why. And like the cameraman behind is just like drooling. Because me too. I was just like,
Oh, absolutely. She killed it. Knocked it out of the
amazing.
park.
Amazing.
In the beginning of this match, so we got a promo from The Undertaker in regards to his upcoming match with Mankind at the Mind Games pay-per-view, which is going to be coming up in a couple weeks, which was short but sweet. A whole lot of nobody can save you now. And as we know, The Undertaker is no fooling. So he means it.
And now he has pyrotechnics, so.
Absolutely. So we get to the match. Shawn Michaels is making his way like down the ring at this point. He gets kind of yanked into the crowd by some overzealous fans, and then he does a little like mocking. They get into it kind of before the match starts while Shawn Michaels' music is playing. So I'm like, has it started? Has it not started? And Shawn Michaels like knocks Goldust like out of the ring and then starts like mocking Goldust's like
little things that he do.
Gesticulations and whatnot. But the match was great because it's
so good.
They're both phenomenal athletes. Goldust is deceptively athletic. People don't give him enough credit, but that man is 6'6". He can flat out just wrestle, which was a great opponent for Shawn Michaels because it's somebody who could kind of be on a par with him athletically, but isn't like 8 feet tall. But the highlight of this match was at one point Goldust is in the corner and Shawn Michaels starts raining down like shots on his face, and then he proceeds to do a backflip off of Goldust's chest, and I was just flabbergasted. I was floored. I was like, this man, because you see that stuff like today. This was in 1996. Nobody was doing that. Not a soul.
And like I said when we were watching it, I was like, and he didn't even need to do that. Like, it's not like he was like avoiding something.
No, it was just for the show.
Just for flair.
Just to steal the show.
Amazing. It was so good.
And then we got another little promo from Mankind, who was doing a whole lot of squealing. He was weird. Very creepy, very in a basement.
As usual.
Kept repeating that he had some like a surprise for Shawn Michaels. We didn't see the surprise. We just saw Dark Room, and every time that man comes on the screen, it's like a horror movie. It cuts back into the match. We get into like the thick of it. Shawn Michaels does a moonsault, which is the same move he used to beat Vader at SummerSlam. Gets the 1, 2, 3, and Mankind comes barreling out from parts unknown, I guess, and they get into it, and basically that's kind of like the end of the episode is them kind of getting into it. And that's like
Shawn Michaels like dips and dives out, and then he's like, never mind.
Oh, right, because Mankind was trying to get Goldust to like team up on Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels was like, not today, Satan, and just like ducked out of the ring. That was a phenomenal episode. I think like more and more we're gonna find that they're kind of becoming more like jam-packed with stuff. As WWE kind of figures out a way to compete with WCW. All right, thank you so much for hanging out. Back in the saddle, baby.
Back in the saddle. Come on now.
All right, guys. We will catch you next week for another edition of the New to Wrestling podcast.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.